is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I am JJ Wang. He is the bearded one, DJ Dove. And with our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
Well, NFL preseason. We talked about this before the show. We said that conversation during. Yippee! That's how excited I am. But you have a differing opinion.
I'm not gonna say it's a different opinion. 'Cause, I really don't like. I really don't watch the preseason either. But I did find myself waking up this morning and watching all the games in like 5 minute clips on YouTube, just so I could see if somebody did pop off here and there. Um, I will say, even the 5 minute clips on YouTube, it very still wasn't very good. But at least I'm kind of up to date on maybe like a little hype here, or maybe who's kind of like not getting any love. But yeah, it's still a pre. I'm not a fan of the preseason at all.
What we do is we hope we get through the preseason without having to deal with injuries. And that being said, Hollywood Brown went to the hospital with I don't even a clavicle injury. I'm not going to even try to say sternoclavicle or something like that. So they're saying is that same thing Tyreek had the other year where he missed. It wasn't that much to be honest, but it's
I think
Tyreek.
it's 4 games. I think they said he missed 4 games. I think.
So does that change? Like Hollywood was starting to do a little bit of a rise with the fear, but Rasheed Rice is still playing. Was Hollywood that high, or does this give a boom to Rasheed Rice? Does it help the rookie, or does it help Kelsey? Or man, Jared Wiley's being talked up. Like who is affected by this news?
I don't know if anybody's really affected. I think pretty much everything just pretty much stays the same, and then once Hollywood comes back, he'll just go right back into that same slot that he was in before he got injured. I think there in the beginning, Rasheed Rice might see a few more targets. Worthy might get on the field a little more, but I'm not sure how effective he's going to be. He might see a few more plays here and there. As far as Kelsey goes, I don't think it really hurts or helps Kelsey. I mean, Kelsey is going to do what Kelsey does. I don't if it's anything like last season. Kelsey wasn't all that great, in the regular season. I feel like he would really hurt fantasy managers more than he helped last year. Hopefully that changes, but I mean, it's the Chiefs' offense. I mean, they're just going to plug in another guy and let Patrick Mahomes stand back there and throw it to whoever is open. So other than maybe Worthy getting a few more chances here and there, I don't think there's going to be much of a difference.
Yeah, I got stuck with Hollywood in our draft. I really don't want him, but I started to get convinced myself. But
I mean,
Malik Neighbors,
I think Hollywood's going to be fine once he comes back from the injury. I mean, it's not like this is an injury that's going to like slow him down on the field. So I don't know how tender it's going to be when he comes back, if he'll be able to get back into full health. But I think Hollywood's going to be fine.
breaking Malik Neighbors went down with a sprained ankle. Luckily, it looks like it's not going to be anything big. It looks like it's not a high ankle sprain, which could extend longer. It looks like it's just a standard, ouch. So he should be back. So no fears there, right? We
Yeah,
keep
I'm
lucky.
not really. I mean, if it's a mild, we've all had mild ankle sprains. We're out for maybe a week or so, and then we're right back in it. Speaking of high ankle sprain, I know Josh Downs ended up with a high ankle sprain. I know Josh Downs, he didn't play great, but there was flashes last year, and there was some talk coming into this season that he might be a bigger part of the offense. Those high ankle sprains, they can linger for a long time. So that's definitely going to affect him. It might help out my boy Adnan Mitchell a little bit. It might get him on the field a little more. But like I said, I'm not really sure how much that team is going to throw. So we'll see. We'll just keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, I like some Josh Downs. I was hearing positive things coming out of
Yeah.
camp for the year, and then rookie Marshawn Lloyd as a hammy. That's never good for a
Good.
rookie, and not good for anybody, but especially. I mean, luckily he's a running back and not a receiver or a tight end. But AJ Dillon's gonna plod along at his 2.8 per yards per carry and keep on going, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's going to happen. I just feel, I mean, it's just going to give Josh Jacobs more work. I mean, this is another reason to keep Josh Jacobs on the field, because obviously Josh Jacobs is the best option they got in that backfield. He's been a proven RB1, high RB2 throughout his whole career. I don't see Dylan getting much run. Like you said, these hamstring injuries can linger all year. It's definitely not something you want to hear. So yeah, we're a little worried about that, but I feel like it helps Josh Jacob owners out a little more. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm not sure if you were going to mention it. Speaking of injuries you don't want to see, that's Christian McCaffrey coming in with the calf injury. Now it is a calf injury, so I feel like that muscle they can kind of linger too, and he gets a lot of work. So I mean, I feel like that's a very very important one that we've got to monitor. Does that worry? That should worry you, right?
It scares the crap out of me on my
Yeah,
best team.
absolutely.
I've got Christian McCaffrey. I saw some team names are Christian McCaff,
Yeah.
CALF, but I mean, you're grabbing Mason. That's that. He's the guy that they're saying is number two. The coaches have come out and said he's number two. So if he's on your, even if you don't have McCaffrey, you go grab Jordan Mason right now. Put him on your team. They're saying that basically he was sort of buried, but because he's not been hurt, that's Eli Mitchell. Eli Mitchell would be too, but I was listening to some stuff that said basically because Eli Mitchell's hurt,
Always hurt.
the coaches have finally said, we've had enough. Mason has worked us out. Like the ballers are talking about. They said Jordan Mason went out and bought himself one of those ball machines that shoots the football at you. I forget what they're called. With the wheels and the tires.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why he would have to buy one when he's at the complex pretty much all the time now. Anyway,
Maybe he doesn't want
so
to stay in California.
sure. I mean,
So,
whatever. But
hey, dedication, baby, dedication.
But so does this take McCaffrey out of the tier one running back where it's just Bijan and Brees Hall right now?
It is early August. Now, if it is
It
September the 5th,
it doesn't
it's
matter.
August, it doesn't matter. Nope.
It doesn't matter.
Nope.
So you're still drafting McCaffrey as RB1,
Yep.
even though he's got an injury. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
crazy.
Oh, McCaffrey's still player one.
That's crazy.
In early August, he's player one. Yep. So we'll revisit that in December. But yeah, I'd still take him number one overall because he equivocates two players. On a positive,
Yeah,
note,
two players, but that same player has the same calf. It's not like he's got two different sets of calves. That calf still affects that same player.
And he will be back. I'm ready to go.
All right.
On a positive note, rookie sensation Bo Nix stat line for his first game: 15 to 21, 125 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 scoring drives for 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals. Oh baby, nothing like playing the second team to make me happy for my boy Bo Nix.
Yeah, cool. I mean, for someone who doesn't like preseason, you sure seem to like the preseason stats for the players that you like. But like JJ McCarthy played pretty well too against scrubs as well. I mean, he had that 1 interception, but he had 2 touchdowns. Bo Nix only had 1, and he had like 168 yards. So I mean, if you want to compare that way, I mean, McCarthy's got to be just as good a shape as Bo Nix, right?
Yeah, probably.
And his weapons are better.
He's on my taxi squad. So I'm not worried about him yet. Oh, one more sad news. A guy we thought he's hit it. Some people might have thought more, but Rondell Moore, a nice little slot receiver, placed on IR, will miss the season. So rest in peace, Rondell Moore, and Drew Lock's hurt, but who cares? Anyway, let's jump into DJ Dove's articles of the week. We have league-winning running backs. So you can give me just a quick hit because we'll after we've talked about these guys ad nauseum. So they had me choose a league-winning running back from running back 6 through running back 20 half-point PPR. I threw out Kyron Williams, going with the McVay likes to bell cow it, and Kyron can kill it if he plays every games. And then outside 20, dude, it was nasty. Like you're talking gross players outside 20. And I'm jumping on the hype train. I love this guy, but I threw out Javonte Williams as a guy outside of 20 because you're drafting him out, and if he gets the push that he could get with the talent he has, he could be a guy that shocks you because you're getting him for my theory on that guy was you're getting him for a sack of peanuts, and outside of 20 it's just a hot mess of committee, so everybody needs injuries. So I was like, Javonte's got the talent, he's going to get the dump offs, why not? But any of these guys, everything's got to hit right for them to get RB1 over those big 3.
Yeah, I mean, you're still stuck on your Broncos train, so I mean that really didn't surprise me none. For a team that's probably going to finish at the bottom of the league, you sure do like them a whole lot. That's fine, but yeah, I think Javonte Williams stands just as much chance as any of the other running backs. In that area. What was the other one?
Kyron Williams.
Kyron Williams.
Williams brothers. I want Williams.
I mean, Kyron Williams is fine. Like I said, when McVay has a running back that he likes. Likes to use him as a workhorse. As long as he's staying healthy, I can't imagine much really changing there. So yeah, I mean, as far as league winners go, I mean, I don't know about a league winner. I think he's just going to be one of those top 12 running backs. You could have picked anybody like in the top 12.
Well, it was
So
6 to 20. Yeah, that
yeah,
was the hard thing when looking. I just went with volume and I went with coaches I trust. So both of the like Peyton made Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, two guys playing top assets that could win leagues this year. So
I mean, I think Isaiah Pacheco can really be put in that spot too. I mean, if you want to talk
we'll see.
workload, I feel like I'm not. I mean, he's not like going to be that guy that's going to be make big plays all over the place, but I think he's going to be consistent enough and have a big enough workload and still get the touchdowns that I think he can be, competing for, right there in that
Yep.
top 10 range.
Kenny Walker the third, Isaiah Pacheco.
Yep. Yeah, all those guys.
There's a whole smidge of guys in there.
Yep.
The second one, I don't know if you'll like this one as much, but it was landmines, like guys that I am saying I am avoiding those landmines, people that I'm not even going to jump on to avoid in all my drafts. And those two guys are I got too many windows open as I'm trying to talk this out. Are running back Rachaad White, and I basically went with Rachaad White due to the inefficiency and thinking that with the youngster in there and maybe some competition, but I did put in my article. I said, if he gets the catches, he's not going to be a landmine. I'll be missing, but that's what saved his season last year was, what was it, 64 or some odd catches?
Yeah.
And so all those catches saved. If he didn't get that, he is a putz. So if Baker dumps off and the rookie or some of the other guys who are saying they're going to get some touches don't jump in, yeah, I missed it on that one. And then the wide receiver, I think it's an easy one for me. It was Stephon Diggs, who's already complaining. He's in a crowded receiving room. Crowded receiving room, and he was. I believe he's being drafted. I'm so low on him. I have him drafting. I have him at number 40, and that's 20 off of consensus.
Yeah, I mean,
draft position. Like they're having him as a top 20 drafted receiver.
Man, a lot of people got him higher than Tank Dell at the moment, and all three of these Houston receivers are projected to go over 1,000 yards. I'm really not thinking that that's going to happen. One of these guys is going to be a failure. Well, not necessarily a failure, but not produce what they're being drafted as. I think Stephon Diggs would be the better choice for the one that finishes the lowest. So I don't know if he's going to be as low as you have him, but I mean, I think it's possible, especially if he starts complaining. And then as far as Rachaad White goes, I think the issue, or not necessarily the issue, but the positive thing with Rachaad White is he's played in the NFL for the last few, so he knows what the coaches want. He knows how to pick up blitzes. He might not be the best runner per se, but the coaches can trust him. So as long as he's being somewhat productive, he's going to be in the game. And if he's in the game, he's going to be catching passes because it's either Mike Evans or Rachaad White. So I think he's still going to get the catches. I think he pretty much does the exact same thing as he did last year. I don't see much difference. So I don't know if he's necessarily a landmine. I mean, he's not somebody excited to draft, but I think he's pretty safe.
Yeah, there's some nasty. You would like of the 14 guys that contributed to the article, 7 of them wrote Achan.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it. I mean,
he's either going to win you a league. He could be both of these. He could be that guy that wins you the league, or that guy that just blows up your team.
If you're talking landmines, I mean, he's the biggest landmine of them all because he's being drafted so high. He's being drafted as a workhorse running back who's probably only going to get 8 to 10 carries a game. So
they run it a lot. I still think he can get 12.
Sure, they run it a lot with 7 different running backs. I mean, they use different guys. And Jalen Wright, I was watching the preseason. I mean, he's in there looking fast, running all over the field. He's looking like the exact same running backs as what they got in the backfield now. So if you're just bringing in another running back that can do the exact same thing just as good as the other ones, I mean, that can only hurt Achane.
Yeah, it was. You know who I should have wrote
Yeah, we'll
about was my
see.
league
I mean,
winner.
he's not averaging 8 yards a carry,
Hey,
and he doesn't catch the ball a lot. That has landmine written all over it.
I admitted he could be a landmine. You know who I should have wrote about his league winners is Ramondre because I'm really high on him and nobody else is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why Ramondre is not getting as much love as he was earlier in his career. He doesn't have any competition as far as running in the backfield, and he can catch the ball. They're going to run the ball a lot, I feel like. So even if they do split the backfield, there's going to be plenty of volume for him to go around. And he is by far the best running back that they have on that team. So if you want to talk about somebody that can win you a league, I think instead of
Yeah.
Javonte Williams, I think Ramondre would be the guy to put in that position.
He was too high. Ramondre
Oh,
is ECR. He's ECR 19. I got him at 9. No, wait, see. 9
Well, then I would
no, I should have done him. Darn it, I should have done him because he's ECR 21. I could have done him.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been a little cheap, but I mean, hey, I think that's the guy that can make a difference on a team.
I mean, Javante's like 34, so it makes me look even smarter. That's the goal. So, okay, so that's some of our news and notes. Don't forget to check out Fantasy Turf Wars. There's links on our website. Some of the interviews from all the different competitors are coming out. We had some great interviews co-host the last couple of weeks. You can check them out on there. All my articles are on the fantasycouriers.com. Rankings are up there. Week 1 rankings should be coming in a couple of weeks. I'm not going to jump in those because I'll wait till after we do our Fantasy Couriers rankings to get to give some really terrible Week 1 rankings. I mean, great Week 1 rankings as we go. So, JJ Wang, you got some this or that's for us as we continue into our day.
Yeah, I've came up with a couple. The first one that I want to come cross your path with here is so we got Josh Palmer. To me, I'm not a huge Josh Palmer fan, but for some reason, Josh Palmer, from what I'm listening to, from what I'm reading, he's been getting a lot of love here the last few weeks. People seem to think that he's by far the wide receiver 1 in LA, which is very possible. I mean, they don't have a lot on. Lad McConkey's already hurt. Surprise there. Not really a fan of that guy anyways. And then, of course, we got Quentin Johnston, who obviously nobody's a fan of. So, and then the guy that I feel like some people are down on, but I really don't understand why, is Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like coming into the league, I bet was like, hey, this is the guy. But when he came to Seattle, he was obviously the third choice, so he wasn't getting as much run. And I feel like people are holding that against him. He's only 22 years old, so he's super young. I think he's going to take over that wide receiver 2, definitely, and possibly the wide receiver 1. So would you prefer Josh Palmer a little cheaper if you're looking for a wide receiver, or would you go after JSN as a little more expensive, but I feel like he's got a little more of an upside there?
I mean, JSN is right now sitting at wide receiver 44.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's ridiculous to me. I'm even trying to find up as you were throwing him out. I was trying to figure out where Palmer. I know Palmer way down there.
From what I've seen, Palmer was ahead of Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, I've seen Jackson was like 40 something, and Palmer was like 40 something. But I feel like they're relatively close as far as rankings go. And I just find that amazing. I still think JSN is a way better prospect here, even as a wide receiver 2, as opposed to Josh Palmer.
See, I got Palmer astronomically high. He'll be some guy I have to highlight. I've already written an article about him, but he's like 57. Yeah. Wide receiver of 57. I've got him at wide receiver 30. I'm going with Josh Herbert. Josh Herbert's got to have a wide receiver 1. It's not going to be Quentin Johnston because his problem is he can't catch the ball. It's not going to be Lad McConkey. He's coming in with I don't like his resume coming in. He's just the new hotness. So it's Joshua Palmer or it's going to be DJ Chark. I'm putting my money on the guy he threw to last year and he liked. So Joshua Palmer. But would I draft him over JSN? JSN's going to be more expensive. So I'd probably draft Joshua Palmer just for that reason. I could easily end up with both guys because everybody's so low on JSN. I mean, JSN had last year, he had some decent games. Towards the end that he had, we're looking, got to make sure it's right upside down.
Yeah, there towards the end, he started playing. It was a little more effective.
It was the middle of the season. He had an 11 target game, 7 target game, a couple of 7 target games, And with that for a rookie, I mean, he still had 93 targets on the year, so
Yeah.
that's not bad for being in a Geno Smith led offense. Like right there is my big problem.
It's not like it's not be that much better this year, but I do think his target share does go up a little bit, and I think his
At least two.
yeah, and I think his talent eventually shows out. All right, next one I got. You're looking for a quarterback to put on your taxi squad, right?
Yeah.
So, are you looking at Spencer Rattler of New Orleans, who was kind of effective last night? Didn't look great, but I mean, he led some scoring drives, and the great Joe Milton, who came in for the New England Patriots and was kind of exciting there. So, would you prefer Joe Milton or Spencer Rattler here?
Oh, it's not even for me. It's not even a thought. I'm on the Spencer Rattler train.
I
I
don't know
like
why.
the location because Derek Carr's in front of him.
That doesn't
Derek
mean
Carr,
that doesn't
Derek
mean
Carr's
Spencer
in front
Rattler's
of
going to
Spencer
be
Rattler.
just because
I've been reading.
He's on Derek Carr's team doesn't mean Spencer Rattler's good.
I've been reading. I wish I had it up with me, but there's things coming out of camp that he is looking fairly deep. He's looking pretty good out of the Saints camp, and the Saints are going to be terrible. So the Saints are going to be an awful team. And Spencer Rattler could see the field this year, so we will see him this year. Milton.
Well, hold on. Also, coming out of camp, people have been saying Joe Milton has been looking really good too in camp. So if they're both looking good in camp, how do you value? I'm not going to say how do you value one better than the other, but you can't use the excuse that Spencer Rattler is looking good in camp when Joe Milton is also looking good in camp.
The Patriots are terrible. They are beyond.
They're the Saints.
There are more. He's got more hurdles to jump than Spencer Rattler does. Joe Milton has to hurdle a number 1 draft pick. It's going to be like Joe Milton is Kirk Cousins. Is the way I look at it. He
wishes he was Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, well, but think about it. Kirk Cousins was drafted, and it took Shanahan murdering RG3 with that, letting him just get clobbered in that playoff game to make Kirk Cousins. So if this happens to Drake May, Milton might have that chance. But currently, I'm not gonna go with it. But it would be. I would love the story because I'm not a Drake May guy. I'm sitting there. I'm like, I had Joe Milton on some of my waiver pickups in some of my leagues, and I didn't pull the trigger yet.
So speaking that you're not a Drake May, it amazes me that a lot of people aren't Drake May guys, considering that when you look at Jaden Daniels, you look at your boy Bo Nix, these guys are 4 years older than Drake May. So they should be good or somewhat effective when they come into the NFL. Drake May is 20 years old. He's played college for 2 years. And he was the number 3 pick, and he's already slotted in. He only played four snaps. So the coaches already see him as, hey, we're not going to risk it here. So people love Bo Nix. Bo Nix has no reason not to be good. He was in college for 17 years. He should be. He was older than everybody. He should be good, right?
Yeah. You go with experience. I just.
You go with experience. When do you go with experience as far as the draft goes? The draft is never about experience. The draft is about expectations.
They were drafted 10 picks apart, right?
Yeah.
So that means Drake May should be 10 picks better, and we will see. I can tell you at this point, no big reason other than something stinks. There's something that just doesn't feel right. It could be New England. He could be David Card, because this New England team I think is putrid. I would not want to touch anybody on that team.
So hold on. So we're sitting here ragging the New England Patriots about being putrid, and we're not going to sit here and rag on the Denver Broncos about. You're not making any sense. It doesn't matter.
If you took Shanahan and you put him in Denver, you would be saying the same thing about the Denver. You would love the Denver Broncos. I am looking in Denver, and I am saying I believe in Sean Payton. Sean Payton's going to take this team. Last year he got stuck with the Russell Wilson. It wasn't his. This year he's got to put a year in his system. Got to put his guys in, and now he's going to make that system better. And I like Mayo, but I just don't.
To compare Shanahan to Payton, I don't think it's fair, because Payton did it.
How many Shanahan Super Bowls include?
You're right. Peyton did it with one quarterback. Peyton had one quarterback that looked good, right? And it was a Hall of Fame quarterback. Hall of Fame quarterback.
But he brought him in.
Every quarterback you stick in Shanahan's offense is good. So
Yeah,
I mean, I don't.
Let's count
rings. So there's a
rings.
One ring. Yeah.
Shanahan?
So okay. So Peyton has one ring. Shanahan has 0. That's fine. So I mean, if you want to base it on rings, fine. But I don't think Shanahan. I mean, I think it's kind of a different because everybody looks good in Shanahan's offense. The only person that looked good in Peyton's offense is Drew Brees because I mean that's the only person he's ever had.
Mark Ingram.
I'm talking about quarterback.
Well, he only had one quarterback, and he brought him
running
from
backs can
San Diego, and he was
running backs can look good in any offense. It doesn't take a mastermind to make a running. How many running backs on crappy teams look good no matter who the coach is, right? I mean, you give the ball enough to a running back, they're going to be great. A quarterback you actually has to like process what's going on the field. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a. And we're gonna have to have some Denver Broncos. We need something on the Denver Broncos.
It's just
for the year, by the end of the year.
Crazy. It's just crazy that you're ragging so hard on the Patriots' bad team when the Denver's team is really, really bad as well.
Is Denver any worse than the Raiders? They just didn't spend the money to get the Raiders. Probably have a better defensive line.
Are they better than the Raiders? Probably not, but I'm not going to sit here and say the Raiders are that much better than the Patriots. I mean,
I think Patriots are going to fight. I think them and the Giants right now look to be just the two worst teams in the league. The Giants probably are the worst team. I think I want nothing from except for Tyrone Tracy. I want nothing from New York on my team whatsoever.
So my last one I got here. Speaking of Tyrone Tracy, there seems to be a little competition there in the form of Eric Gray stepping up into that RB spot, looking fantastic in the first game against who they play.
I just
did they play Houston? Was it Houston?
Lions.
Oh, they played the Lions. Tyrone Tracy was. I mean, he had a couple things here and there, but Eric Gray was the real winner of in that backfield. Devin Singletary, of course, didn't play. Devin Singletary is blah blah blah. But are we kind of worried about Tyrone Tracy losing his spot here to Eric Gray?
Not really. I think it could be the same situation you're going to have in Indianapolis. Eric Gray could be going for the straight up Devin Singletary backup. And as we're starting the year, Tyrone Tracy is going to be the scat back. So he's going to be the receiving back. He's going to be getting those like third down things. And that's what's coming out. At least that's what Giants camp was saying. And it is the first preseason game, so they play more of the deeper guys anyway. So it could be that. I mean, he did have 49-yard runs. So put that in, 48-yard runs, touchdowns. So throw that in with the mess. But the same thing's going on in the Colts. You got Jonathan Taylor. Everybody's talking about Trey Sermon or Evan Hull. And Sermon is the straight-up backup. So he would be the one to take over the lead back roles. But Hull's could be scat backing this year now that he's healthy.
But I will say Evan Hull and Trey Sermon, they both suck. They have
they look pretty good.
So they both suck, and Jonathan Taylor's really, really good. There's no chance either one of them takes Jonathan Taylor's spot. There is definitely a chance either Eric Gray or Tyrone Tracy could take Singletary's spot. So I think Eric Gray and Tyrone Tracy stand a better chance of playing than Trey Sermon and Aaron ever will, right?
Yeah, I would say. Oh yeah, 100. I mean, unless Jonathan Taylor quits playing football, Barry Sanders is after 3 years or something. Yeah, they have a chance of playing. I still think Tracy. I mean, he's only 24, so I mean he's not super old. But
that's kind of old for a rookie running back, though.
Yeah, let's see. I was trying to
considering Braylon Allen, who looked pretty good, is only 20 years old, right?
I mean, last year was his first year, right?
I think playing running back, yeah, second year playing running back.
So I mean, he's not.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be it. Yeah, I just think there's the more competition in a crowded backfield is never good for a player that you like.
I mean, you do realize he had 4 carries for 52 yards and one of
Oh, I
them
know.
was 48 yards.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I mean, if you
totally
want to play that game with running backs, we can go back to every game last year and find a running back that had 100 yards, but one of them was a 68-yard run, and then the other 12 carries were garbage.
Are we talking about Achan again?
We could be. I mean, that wasn't who was on my mind, but absolutely 100%.
Oh, good old Achan. I got a guy I've been thinking about that.
All right.
He's he's a guy I've always liked, but he's starting to make more fantasy mainstream. That's Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah.
Until he had he's got a hammy going on, so that could hinder
Never
everything.
good. Never good. Yeah.
Never. But Rashid Shaheed is starting to supposedly maybe be jumping up, maybe into that next level. So last year he still had 1,000 yards on. He only had 70,000 air yards. So he only had 75 targets last year. And I just thought I was getting in my brain 700 yards, 719 yards. But Olave has never gotten to where we think Olave should get. Is this the year Olave gets there, or do they balance each other out? Because he is your Deshaun Jackson, right?
I mean, it's probably not the year he gets there because the quarterbacks in New Orleans are absolutely dreadful. I mean, they don't have dreadful. Like I said, I mean, I don't expect Spencer Rattler to come in and Chris Olave to automatically get 1,700 yards. So I think it's going to be I think it's going to be tough for the Saints receivers. I think Olave is still going to be that 1,100 yard wide receiver. That's going to be pretty much like where he's capped, just because the offense and Derek Carr is just not very good. And if they do have to bring Spencer Rattler in, I don't think that's going to help Olave or Shaheed very much. Shaheed to me has been like that boomer, but he's been like a Tyler Lockett type. Mm-hmm. So I think he needs to be a little more consistent in his bad game. His bad games need to be a little better in order for him to, if he wants to take that next step. But hey, Tyler Lockett's made a career out of having 30-point games and the next 3 of them being 3. So we'll see.
Gabe Davis with his zeros.
Hey, don't be ragging on Gabe Davis. He had a catch last night, okay?
I love Gabe. I was looking at my rankings. I'm like, I got Gabe Davis way too high. Okay.
There's no such thing. You can never have Gabe Davis way too high.
I got him at wide receiver 2. Now,
it's not too high at all. I'd go a little higher if you wanted. I wouldn't be upset.
I think I got him at 30 something. I was looking at it as I was going through setting up stuff for here. And it's but I got 3 guys. I want you to tell me where you think they fall in fantasy realms and in the depth chart, and then that's how we'll close out today. That would be the Buffalo Bills receiving dregs. So we're looking at Khalil Shakir, who had some decent showings last year. Everybody came into the offseason thinking, okay, everybody's gone. It's going to be Shakir's year. Then they drafted Keon Coleman, and you don't hear consistently, this guy is the greatest thing since sliced bread. You hear he does a great interview. He has potential, but he's not it's just a up and down kind of discussions on him. You got Curtis Samuel, who is your standard slot guy. They say he could be used as a Swiss Army knife kind of player for the team.
Pretty much the same thing that Curtis Samuel has always been.
Stays. Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at drafting and you have Josh Allen, you're like, hey, I want to get one of his pieces just to have there and then maybe get us some stacks a couple weeks. And it's not Dalton Kincaid at this point. We're just looking at the receivers because that's probably who you grab, or James Cook. But if you had to grab a receiver, how would you rank these receivers as far as receivers you would want on your team, considering, Curtis Samuel's probably the cheapest, and then Coleman's probably more expensive currently because of the rookie draft and rookie and then I'll pull them up while you're going through it to give you the exact numbers.
So Curtis Samuel would be my last. I'm not too into Curtis Samuel. He might have a good game here or there. It's pretty much what Curtis Samuel has been his whole life. It's nothing that you can really count on. I think the battle is the battle you're going to go between is whether you want to pick Shakir or Keon Coleman. I think Keon Coleman is going to be a little more expensive, like you said. The Khalil Shakir might have more catches, but at the end of the day, I think Keon Coleman ends up with more yards and more touchdowns. It's a tough choice. I think they might be pretty close as in terms of yards. So but like I said, I might go Shakir. As much as I like Coleman, I think I might go Shakir because he might be a little cheaper. I think Keon might be overdrafted a little bit, but I love Keon Coleman. I think he's going to fit in quite well. I think he's just going to slide into that big wide receiver role. And I think Josh Allen's really going to like what he can do. I bet you could throw it up to him, and he's got a wide range of wide catch radius. That's definitely going to help in the red zone when you need to throw the ball up. And I think he's a lot faster than what his combine's shown. So I think as far as like he's obviously the best athlete that they got in the wide receiver group. So while I'm sitting here talking to myself about it, I think I'd probably go Keon Coleman. I think the upside is going to be worth more than what Shakir can offer, and I'm not even too worried about Curtis Samuel because he's just going to catch a ball behind the line of scrimmage and run for 10 or 11 yards. I think that's what you're going to see from Curtis Samuel all year.
If he does that 80 times,
Yeah,
right
that's not
there,
happening.
PPR. So, ironically, they are all within like 7 draft slots of each other. Curtis Samuel's looking like he's roundabouts 49. Keon Coleman at 45, wide receiver, average drafted wide receiver, and Shakir is the 42nd wide receiver. I have Shakir higher, just going with his experience with him.
I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, I would fun experience. They're that close.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue too much if you want to put Shakir ahead of Coleman, but I will argue if you want to put the other guy over either one of those because I think
it's ironic. I was growing up. I was starting to grow on Samuel recently, and then apparently I got to go redo my got to go update my draft rankings. But I have Samuel a lot lower. But
as you should.
I would stick with Shakir, and because Keon Coleman I like a lot. I like his size, but it's because it's the same school. I have this Kelvin Benjamin smell to him. Big guy. That means the first year is going to be spectacular. And then he's going to poop the bed. But
I mean, that first year spectacular. I mean,
we got it.
I mean, that's all you want, especially if you're doing redraft. You're only playing him for 1 year, right? It's not like he's he's going to help you out dynasty. But I mean, if he has a Kelvin Benjamin rookie year, what else do you want out of a guy?
Yeah,
and I think he's an overall better athlete. More. I think he probably cares about his conditioning a little more than Kelvin Benjamin did.
Yeah,
and I mean the guy's fun to listen to. I mean he's a funny dude.
That's why we want him to be successful, just so we can keep watching him. So.
Absolutely.
Okay, JJ Wang. We could talk about other guys going on. I was sitting there as everything popped up. I was like, well, Caleb Williams had a good start to the preseason. Make you think any different of him?
That was one of my this or that things. I brought up Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. Both of them looked pretty effective, in their first preseason game. Now I know it is preseason, but I thought Caleb Williams did some pretty good things. I mean, he fit a couple balls into some tight spaces. I mean, whether it's preseason or not, I mean, if he can fit it in there, I mean, he can fit it in there. He's able to get outside, throw on the run a little bit. So I thought Caleb Williams did just enough to make me think, all right, this guy might be, who we think he is. And then Jaden Daniels, I mean, he had that long bomb to Diami Brown. Watch out, Diami Brown. Evidently, he's killing it in camp. Yeah, so that might be a sleeper right there. He was able to get outside on the 3-yard touchdown. So that's kind of what we want Daniels to be. So I mean, if you're drafting, are you picking Daniels over Williams, or are you going Williams over Daniels?
They're probably really, really close.
I can imagine they are.
I mean, I've always said I'm not a Caleb Williams fan, but I don't see if he's not successful, it's totally his fault. But I think you got to go. It's fantasy, so you got to go with the rushing guy. If they're that close, you got to go with the guy that's going to run his brains off because Caleb Williams got to throw 50 yards for a point, whereas I will say got to run 10.
Caleb Williams also showed off a little bit of his legs last night as well. So if he's able to get 50 rushing, 40 to 50 rushing yards a game, that's pretty legit, right?
Yeah, if he does, I mean, he had 13 yards. That's 1 quarter, so that'd be a boat ton of yards, 26, 52 yards. Yeah, if he does that, then he takes over there because he'll have more passing yards. He should because he's throwing to like great wide receivers and tight ends, whereas Jaden Daniels is throwing to Terry McLaurin and
I mean, he's
other
got
guys.
Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz has always been a pretty legit. I mean,
Zach
our
Ertz
boy,
is 72.
our boy Benson Lott also looked kind of good last night, running down the seam.
Yeah.
So I mean, watch out there. So we'll see.
Yeah, so I think it's those guys. So we just had today was our. I got to figure out a title for this episode. I think it's gonna be called just NFL Fun.
I mean,
There
I
we
thought
go.
this was some good conversation. I really enjoyed this one. This is a good one.
It was a good day of NFL fun. So JJ Wang, give us some words of wisdom. Let's get out of here.
Well, absolutely. Since this is the last day of the Olympics, I want to give out a shout out to America for being so awesome and dominating everybody. It started off a little slow. I was starting to worry a little bit. Our swim team wasn't the normal dominant swim team that we usually have, but once the track and field, started to come around, we completely dominated track and field events as we usually do. So yeah, shout out to all the Americans out there who performed really well. I'll be here again in 4 years to support you like I always do. So as always, trust yourself and trust the process.